It is the 16th day of August 2021. A warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najma Luima, but first are the headlines. FDC asks Ugandan government to copy from Zambia electoral results. President directs injection of shillings 141 billion in Kira Motors plant. Celebrations in Lusaka after Hakainde Hichilema becomes Zambia's new president. And in sports, Uganda Cranes players, officials take COVID-19 tests ahead of Jordan, Ethiopia training camps. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. Opposition Forum for Democratic Change FDC has challenged the government of Uganda to borrow a leaf from Zambia and give justice to the country following its presidential elections last week, which were won by opposition United Party for National Development. Nalugo has more.
Addressing journalists at their party headquarters in Najanankumbi, Deputy Party Secretary General Harold Kaija said that Zambia's elections must be a wake-up call for all elites in Uganda to give justice to the country.
We would want to congratulate Mr. Hichilema Hakainde, the President-elect of Zambia, who was representing the United Party for National Development in the just concluded elections. As you are aware, in Africa, incumbents are not easy to defeat.
Zambia's Electoral Commission confirmed that last week's presidential election was won by opposition candidate Hakainde Hichilema, who defeated the outgoing president Edgar Lungu by more than 1 million votes. Kaija also congratulated President-elect Hichilema Hakainde for winning last week's elections after trying the last 6 elections.
So nti abali mbuyinza naddala abayivu mutuwe gwanga mwe bannayuganda eggwanga mulekerawo kwevumaganya bannayuganda nti gwe yasoma onsinzaaki ekyo katusubira nti mwakirabye mugenda kiyigirako. Ekyokubiri,
it was Mr. Hichilema's 6th attempt at winning the presidency. Nalugo Muyingo, Africa Today.
President Museveni has directed that shillings 141 billion, which would have been spent on the construction of a road in this financial year, be given to Kira Motors Corporation to complete the building of their vehicle plant project. We have more. President Museveni, who laid a foundation stone at the plant in Jinja Industrial Park on Saturday, said the completion of the plant will produce quicker results than the road to be constructed. Earlier, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Matia Kasaija, told President Museveni that he would look for shillings 141 billion for the construction of the plant this financial year. The plant is expected to be completed in December and launched in January 2022. Kira Motors Corporation is a state enterprise aimed at establishing vehicle manufacturing in Uganda. The plant at the Jinja Industrial Park is being constructed by the Uganda People's Defence Forces through its business arm, the National Enterprise Corporation. President Museveni, who banned importation of buses and assembling of new ones in Uganda, expects buses for Ugandan market to be manufactured in Uganda, saying it will create employment and reduce on the forex sent abroad to buy vehicles. He said his future plan is to also ban importation of used cars that use fuel in Uganda because of their impact to the environment. Uganda has registered a decline in COVID-19 infections and deaths in the last 14 days. Ministry of Health Statistics portray a 44% decline in new cases, representing 1,831 cases, and a 52% representing 200 deaths, a decline in deaths 2 weeks after the 42-day nationwide lockdown, which ended on July 29.
Between 14th and 27th July, during the 42-day nationwide lockdown, a total of 4,202 cases of COVID-19 infections were registered. But in the last 14 days after the lockdown between July 30th and August 12th, only a total of 2,371 cases were reported across the country. The consistent decline in cases contrasts with projections by the National Planning Authority that the partial easing of lockdown would cause a surge in infections. Dr. Henry Kajumbura, the head of Infection Control and Prevention at the Ministry of Health Scientific Advisory Committee on COVID-19, however, warned that cases may still increase over time because of increasing violation of COVID-19 preventive measures. The decline in cases was also reflected in a few COVID-19 patients in hospitals and subsequently fewer COVID-19 deaths registered. The total number of COVID-19 patients who are currently hospitalized stands at 506, which is also higher than the 849 patients that were on admission on July 14th.
Moving on, President Museveni has warned the security agencies against disrespecting the human rights of Ugandans and other people in the country. Addressing the public about the security status of the country, the president said that the NRM does not believe in beating people for any reason.
While addressing the public on Saturday evening, Museveni cautioned the soldiers and police officers that they should respect the people of Uganda as well as the position of the National Resistance Army and the Constitution of Uganda. The president displayed footage captured by media in which the General Katumba shooting suspects told court that they had been tortured while in police custody, which he said that was wrong and unnecessary. The president also warned security against beating members of the public while enforcing COVID-19 standard operating procedures, saying it is unacceptable. The president also warned that it's not acceptable for security agencies to keep anyone for long hours without trial since it is against the provisions of the Constitution. Reminding security agencies of the guidelines he issued in 2017 on respecting human rights and avoiding torturing of suspects, the president said these should be followed to the dot. The latest statements have been described by experts as a deliberate effort by President Museveni to mend Uganda's relations with the West, especially the European Union and the United States government that have criticized government for not respecting human rights.
Let's take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. Zambia's veteran opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema has won the Southern African country's presidency after taking more than 50% of the vote. Hichilema was declared president-elect by Esau Churu, chairman of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, early Monday after results for 155 of the country's 156 constituencies were announced.
Hichilema, a 59-year-old businessman contesting the presidency for the sixth time, got more than 2.8 million votes to President Edgar Lungu's 1.8 million votes, achieving one of the biggest electoral wins in Zambia's history. Hichilema garnered more than 50% of the nearly 5 million votes cast to win the presidency outright without having to go to a runoff election. Hichilema narrowly lost two previous elections to Lungu in 2015 and 2016. His support grew in each of those polls, and in 2016, he lost by just 100,000 votes. Zambians celebrated overnight, with hundreds of Hichilema's friends supporters turning his home on the outskirts of the capital Lusaka into a party zone. The defeated Lungu, 64, can still appeal the result in the courts. He has already signaled that he may not accept his loss. Lungu asserted on Saturday that the elections had not been free and fair in three provinces seen as opposition strongholds, citing violence and the killings of a few of his supporters allegedly by the opposition. Lungu claimed that the ruling party polling agents had been brutalized and chased away from voting stations, leaving his party's votes unprotected. Hichilema enjoyed the backing of 10 opposition parties, which threw their weight behind his United Party for National Development.
Ghana welcomed survivors of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre, Viola Ford Fletcher, who is 107 years old, and her brother Hughes Van Ellis, 100 years old. The two are the last known living survivors of the 1921 racist massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma. On May 31, 1921, a group of black men went to the Tulsa courthouse to defend a young African-American man accused of assaulting a white woman. They found themselves facing a mob of hundreds of furious white people. Tensions sparked and shots were fired, and the African Americans retreated to their neighborhood, Greenwood. The next day, at dawn, white men looted and burned the neighborhood, at the time so prosperous it was called Black Wall Street. In 2001, a commission created to study the tragedy concluded that Tulsa authorities themselves had armed some of the white rioters. Historians say that as many as 300 African-American residents lost their lives and nearly 10,000 people were left homeless in the 1921 incident that drew the white against the black. This is the first time that survivors of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre step on African soil for a tour in Ghana. The visit is part of a homecoming campaign organized by the social media platform Our Black Truth. Nadia Adong Musa, Deputy Director of Diaspora Office of the President, said that this was one of the biggest historic African diasporas that has come back to us. Moving on, South Africa's jailed ex-president Jacob Zuma, who early this month was moved from prison to a health facility, has undergone surgery and will stay in hospital for further procedures, according to the government. Let's take a look.
Mr. Zuma underwent a surgical procedure on Saturday, 14th August 2021, with other procedures scheduled for the coming days. The Correctional Services Department announced in a statement saying that it could not predict a discharge date. The 79-year-old was admitted to the hospital for observation on August 16 for an undisclosed condition, and he has remained there. His long-running corruption trial over an arms deal dating back more than 2 decades was last week postponed to next month pending a medical report declaring Zuma's fitness for trial. Last month, Zuma began serving a 15-month jail sentence in a separate case for snubbing a commission probing state corruption under his 2019 and 2018 presidency.
The governor of Mozambique's northern Cabo Delgado province said on Thursday that the city of Mochiboa da Praia was safe for people to return. It was retaken from Islamist insurgents by a joint force of Rwandan and government forces on Sunday. Southern African countries on Monday inaugurated a regional military mission to help Mozambique take back control of its gas-rich northern province from jihadists that have been rampaging across towns and villages for nearly 4 years. Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi and Botswanan President Mogwesi Masisi launched the Southern African Development Community Mission in Mozambique at an event in Pemba, the capital of Cabo Delgado province. President Filipe Nyusi reaffirmed a joint commitment to fight against violent extremism together with the Rwandan forces. Mozambican forces, backed by Rwandan troops on Sunday, said they had driven out militants occupying Mochimboa da Praia, a port from where the first Islamist attacks were staged in October 2017. In March, the militants struck Palma, forcing French energy giant Total to suspend work on a nearby $20 billion gas project. Rwanda started deploying a 1,000-man force on July 9th to shore up the Mozambican military. Forces from Mozambique's fellow members of the 16th National SADC bloc started deploying on July 26th, led by Botswana. Let's once again take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News at the right to know. In our business news today, Algerian firefighters were still struggling on Sunday to put out 19 blazes in the north of the country, where 90 people were killed in wildfires this week. A statement from the emergency services said its teams were trying to extinguish 19 fires in 10 provinces.
The government has blamed arsonists and a blistering heat wave of dozens of blazes that have raged across the country's north since Monday, but experts have also criticized authorities for failing to prepare for the annual phenomenon. The fires have killed 90 people, including 33 soldiers, according to reports from local authorities. The emergency services said 6 blazes were still raging in Bejaia, 3 in El Tav and 2 in Tizi Ouzou, the worst hit province where entire villages were destroyed. Algeria is Africa's biggest country by surface area, and although much of the interior is desert, the country's north has over 4 million hectares of forest, which is hit every summer by fires. Last year, 44,000 hectares went up in flames.
In our health news today, the World Health Organization said on Friday that no further Marburg cases have been identified so far in Guinea, but contacts of the fatal case were being monitored twice daily during the critical incubation period. West Africa's first recorded case of the lethal virus, which is related to Ebola, was confirmed on Monday.
The virus, which is carried by bats and has a fatality rate of up to 88%, was found in samples taken from a patient who died on August 2nd in Guinea's southern Gwekedu prefecture. World Health Organization spokeswoman Fedela Chaib told reporters in Geneva that so far there are no further cases of Marburg since the index case. She said that as of Friday, 150 contacts of the fatal case had been identified. The incubation period of the virus, the interval from infection to onset of symptoms, varies from 2 to 21 days. The discovery comes just 2 months after the World Health Organization declared an end to Guinea's second outbreak of Ebola, which started last year and claimed 12 lives. Although Marburg and Ebola are members of the same family, they are different viruses and can only be differentiated through laboratory testing. Early rehydration and symptomatic treatment improves the chances of survival. There is no licensed treatment proven to neutralize the virus, but a range of blood products, immune therapies, and drug therapies are under development, said Chaib.
In our sports news today, as the Uganda Cranes team starts preparations for the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualification matches, the preliminary squad has entered residential camp at the Cranes Paradise Hotel in Chisasi, Kampala. Besides the KCCA and Express players, the other summoned group reported for national team duty.
The Uganda Cranes players and officials were first subjected to the COVID-19 test, a prerequisite as the team prepares to travel for a training camp in Jordan and later Ethiopia. In Jordan and Ethiopia, the team will have 3 friendly matches ahead of the Federation for International Football Association World Cup qualifiers against Kenya on 2nd September 2021. At Cranes Paradise Hotel, the players and officials are in self-isolation before the first training session on Monday at a venue yet to be confirmed. Promising midfielder Bobos Byaruhanga, who plies his trade with 4-time Uganda Premier League side Viper, is humbled to be working under the new coach Milutin Sejovic. Simon Tamale, a goalkeeper at Soltilo Bright Stars, is delighted for the second national team summon, an opportunity that will make him a better player. Tamale is one of the 4 goalkeepers on the team, in addition to Express Joel Mutakuwa, Charles Lukwago on the way to St. George, and Uganda Revenue Authorities Nafian Aliozi. Some of the other players in the camp is Morocco-based striker Patrick Kaddu, Vipers captain Halid Lualila, Jude Semgabi of Mbarara City, and Uganda Revenue Authorities captain Shafik Kuchikajimo, and Sports Club Villa's newly signed defender Kenneth Semakula.
Now, before we end our news bulletin today, let's take a recap of our top stories. FDC asks Ugandan government to copy from Zambia electoral results. President directs injection of shillings 141 billion in Kiramoto's plant. Celebrations in Lusaka after Hakainde Hichilema becomes Zambia's new president. And in sports, Uganda Cranes players, officials take COVID-19 tests ahead of Jordan, Ethiopia training camps. That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.